The consequences of Russian terror, which regions are without electricity, the high-profile car accident case in Prikapadia, and the cancellation of extensions for expired foreign passports. Why? All this and more. I'll tell you about it next. It's 7:30 on the clock. My name is Irina Kondrachuk, and you are watching TSN Online. So leave a like on this video, subscribe to our channel, and be sure to comment on what impressed you the most. We're getting started. Russia attacked Ukraine with 2 Iskanders and nearly 80 more drones. The Air Force reported that a missile and 12 drones hit their targets. At night, the occupiers launched 2 Iskander-M ballistic missiles from the Bryansk region and 79 attack UAVs from Kursk, Milerovo, Orel, and Primorsko-Akhtarsk. Half of them were shahids. The air attack was repelled, as usual, by aviation, anti-aircraft missile troops, electronic warfare units, and drone systems. Additionally, mobile fire groups of the defense forces were involved. The north, south, and east of Ukraine came under attack. Despite the dense defense, ballistic missiles and 12 attack drones still hit 6 locations. And in 2 more locations, debris fell. As a result of the attack on energy facilities, Donetsk region was completely cut off from power, and Zaporizhzhia, Kharkiv, and Chernihiv regions were partially left without electricity. This was reported by the Ministry of Energy. Where the security situation allows, repair crews are fixing the damage so that the electricity can be restored to all homes as quickly as possible. Starting today, consumption restrictions are being applied only in certain regions, ranging from half a Q to 1.5 Qs in volume. Such schedules have been published by Ukrenergo, and they are mainly in effect during peak hours from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. However, the schedules may change, so keep an eye on information from the official resources of Oblenergo, and if possible, use electricity sparingly. 4 people were killed by the Russians in the Dnipropetrovsk region. Among them were 2 children. They were boys aged 11 and 14. 7 people were wounded. Also, according to the prosecutor's office, there are people missing. The Russians struck with Iskander missiles and shahids at a store in a village in the Samarivsky district last evening. Residential buildings and cars were also damaged. 5 people were killed and 2 injured in Donetsk region. The occupiers attacked Kostiantynivka with aerial bombs, artillery, and drones, killing 2 residents and injuring 1. In Rodensky, 1 person died under the rubble of a private house and another was injured. There are also casualties in Mirnohrad and Siversk, and due to strikes on critical infrastructure, the entire region is without power. 2 people were killed and 3 injured in Izmail, Odessa region. The Russians targeted strike drones at a parking lot for trucks transporting grain to the Danube ports. 5 trucks caught fire at once. Among the injured was a driver who tried to extinguish the flames himself before rescuers arrived. He was taken to the hospital with thermal burns. Near Myropilya in the Sumy region, a drone killed a man in the field. In the middle of the Butska community and in Sumy, drones injured 2 people, and in Mykolaiv region, a drone hit a minibus. The passengers and driver managed to jump out in time, but the bus caught fire. The carrier has already cancelled trips on this route. Kherson is also under fire. 3 civilian men were injured in different parts of the city as a result of Russian drone and artillery attacks. All of them suffered shrapnel wounds and blast injuries. Private houses were on fire. The occupiers are also terrorizing the Chernihiv region with drones. In the Koryukivka district, a house was destroyed and the owner was wounded. In Novorod-Siversky, houses and cars were damaged and a ballistic missile struck an agricultural enterprise. In the middle of the night, the Russians attacked Zaporizhzhia with multiple rocket launch systems. 3 people were injured, more than 60 private houses were damaged, and there are widespread power outages in the city. Daria Nazarova will tell us more about the aftermath.
Left without windows and a roof over their heads. These are the consequences of the nighttime shelling of Zaporizhzhia's private sector. The occupiers fired using MLRS. As we can see, Russian shrapnel has ravaged the entire street. There isn't a single intact window in the houses, and there's a huge crater nearby. The explosions in the city occurred at 2 a.m. At that time, Mr. Mikhailo says he and his family were sound asleep. After the first strike, he grabbed his wife and son and ran to take cover.
The child was very frightened that night. There was just a pillar of dust and smoke. We jumped up, grabbed the child, and went down to the basement. He did well, he held it together, but he was very scared. I guess we'll need to spend more time with him. Maybe we should reach out to someone because he got really scared.
Now Mikhailo is putting the house in order and planning to take his family to a safer place.
The house, with all of its windows and doors completely blown out, was left in ruins. Everything inside is gone, and the entire roof is also missing. Everything is destroyed. We will move in with relatives because it's impossible to live there now.
The neighboring house also withstood the attack, but now the dwelling, only cracked walls remain with no windows or doors left.
The summer kitchen, the doors, the windows, all were blown out. There isn't a single door left. Come in, take a look. It collapsed in pieces. I already knocked some of it down myself. And in this kitchen as well. The ceiling and the corners, I don't know how it's going to be.
As a result of the attack, 3 people were injured. The oldest is 91 years old. The victim's granddaughter, Hannah, says, has already taken the elderly man to relatives. Grandpa still can't recover after that night.
He has cuts on his leg. We bandaged everything ourselves, but he was so frightened. He still can't really understand what happened.
The enemy shelling left 58,000 residents of Zaporizhzhia without electricity. Currently, energy workers are carrying out repair and restoration work. Daria Nazarova, Andriy Kupovka, Zaporizhzhia, TSN 1+1.
More than 121,000 people have already been evacuated from the frontline territories. And that's just since the beginning of summer, according to the Ministry of Community Development. Among those evacuated to safer areas were 14,000 children and 4,000 people with limited mobility. According to government data, the largest number, 84,000, left Donetsk region, with Dnipropetrovsk region in second place. Nearly 24,000 people have been evacuated from there. Currently, there are about 20 transit centers operating in Ukraine. Here, both children and adults can rest and receive humanitarian, medical, psychological, legal, and social assistance. For example, they can restore lost documents. Afterwards, evacuees can use free temporary accommodation. There are more than 1,000 such places operating across our country, and they provide more than 80,000 beds for internally displaced persons. Russian troops are intensifying their offensive on Pokrovsk. This is our key transport and logistics hub for supplies, and its capture would open the way for Russia to occupy the rest of Donetsk region. Ukrainian forces in Pokrovsk are not encircled, but our defenders are facing enemy forces numbering in the thousands. This was stated by Commander-in-Chief Alexander Syrsky. The highest military leadership is currently directing a complex operation at the front to destroy and drive enemy forces out of the city. The defense of the agglomeration will be reinforced with additional units, weapons, equipment, including drone systems, the Commander-in-Chief assures. According to deep state analysts, about half of Pokrovsk is considered a so-called gray zone, where neither side has full control over the situation completely. The American Institute for the Study of War also reports on the gray zone. It also notes that Ukrainian forces have made slight advances during recent counterattacks north of Pokrovsk. For their part, the 7th Corps of the Ukrainian Defense Forces stated that Ukrainian troops have improved their tactical position in Pokrovsk, but the situation remains difficult and dynamic. In total, 143 combat engagements were recorded over the past day, with a third of them occurring specifically in the Pokrovsk direction. 2 North Korean soldiers were taken prisoner during the fighting. In Ukraine, they stated that they wanted to escape to South Korea. This was reported by Le Monde. Last year, more than 10,000 North Korean soldiers were sent to Russia, mainly to the Kursk region, to fight against Ukraine. This year, in January, Ukrainian soldiers captured 2 North Korean soldiers. In a recent interview for a documentary film, the prisoners stated that they want a normal life in the South. The Constitution of South Korea stipulates that all Koreans, including those from the North, are full citizens. This rule also applies to prisoners of war in Ukraine. However, soldiers from the DPRK are ordered by the authoritarian regime to take their own lives to avoid capture. A Russian oil terminal in the city of Tuapse, Krasnodar Krai, was attacked by Ukrainian drones. As a result of the strike, a tanker and port infrastructure were hit, according to OPC reports. Ukrainian Special Services drones from the Alpha Special Operations Center of the SBU, in cooperation with security and defense forces, struck the energy infrastructure of the enemy. 5 drone strikes were recorded at the port in Tuapse. As a result of the strikes, a tanker caught fire and at least 4 oil loading installations which load and unload tankers were put out of operation. Port buildings were also damaged. The port of Tuapse houses an oil terminal and an oil refinery owned by the company Rosneft. The Security Service of Ukraine also carried out another strike on enemy depots and bases in the temporarily occupied territories. Concentrations of equipment and personnel used for logistics and regrouping were hit. The nighttime strikes were carried out using FP2 drones with 105-kilogram warheads, which ensured the high effectiveness of the operation. That same night, drone system forces also struck 5 substations on Russian territory. Their total capacity amounts to 5,000 megawatts. This was reported by the unit commander, Robert Madyar, Brovdi. He noted that Ukrainian drones reached the settlement of Gryazi in the Lipetsk region, which is 1,000 kilometers from Ukraine. In your opinion, where else should we target in the enemy's rear? Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments to this broadcast on YouTube. And of course, give us a like and subscribe to our channel. In the meantime, I will continue with the broadcast. The high-profile case of the traffic accident in Carpathian. The Ivano-Frankivsk prosecutor's office has charged a judge who hit people at a pedestrian crossing. The incident occurred on Friday in the village of Fraga on the Mukachevo-Lviv highway. A judge from the Pidhaitsi court in Ternopil region driving her Lexus did not slow down before the crosswalk which people were using at that moment. One of the pedestrians died at the scene and another sustained bodily injuries. The High Council of Justice is currently considering a motion to allow the suspect to be taken into custody. There is also a petition to suspend her from administering justice. The extension of the validity period of foreign passports has been cancelled, and the inclusion of information about children in their parents' documents has also been discontinued. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs announced this and explained the new rules. So the Cabinet of Ministers approved the changes on October 29th. This procedure had previously been exceptional and was in effect since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, so that Ukrainians could have the opportunity to save themselves and leave the country. At that time, there were also difficulties with the passport system, but now there are none. You can now apply for new biometric passports both at embassies and consulates, as well as at branches of passport service centers abroad. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs explains that Ukraine must return to international standards because of the regulations. Most countries in the world do not recognize passports with extended validity or without a separate document for a child. This creates problems when crossing borders. Therefore, Ukrainians whose passports are expiring now need to obtain a new biometric one. For those currently living abroad, the agency reminded them, Ukraine allows everyone to have 2 valid international passports. Melitopol is Ukraine. Russians prosecute Ukrainians who find themselves under occupation simply for acknowledging this fact. This is what happened to 21-year-old Yana Suvorova. At the time of the full-scale invasion, the young woman decided to stay in her hometown in the Zaporizhzhia region. She also became the administrator of the Telegram channel Melitopol is Ukraine. A little over a year into the war, FSB agents came for her. She and 6 other guys, also moderators and admins of the Telegram channel, were accused, among other things, of terrorism. Recently, Yana Suvorova was sentenced to 14 years in prison in Russia. Is it possible to free the young woman? And what are her friends doing to help? KTSN correspondent Mariana Bukan will tell you.
How old are you?
The number 19?
In the best case scenario, you will celebrate your 32nd birthday in freedom.
This story began a little over 2 years ago. And then about her? Propagandists from one of the Russian channels filmed a huge story. It is about, among others, Yana Suvorova. Last week, a so-called Russian court sentenced the girl to 14 years in prison.
Terrorist activity, espionage, participation in terrorist groups.
This is Alexander Nikolayenko, a friend of Yana Suvorova. He was one of the first to publicize her story after the verdict. I
hope that after the verdict, she will no longer be of interest. The Russian side will, as expected, finish all of their fake procedural actions at this point in time, and a miracle will happen. At
the start of the full-scale war, Yana Suvorova was 18 years old. She studies and works part-time.
I made girls beautiful, did eyelashes and eyebrows. But then the occupation came, the war came. She decided to support the residents.
That moment, the residents of Melitopol, who found themselves under occupation just days after the war began, were trying to mount peaceful resistance against the Russians. They took to the streets for rallies and voiced their position. It was around that time that the Telegram channel Melitopol is Ukraine was created. One of the people who ran it was Yana Suvorova.
Yana became a moderator, an administrator who monitored the chat and helped other people.
And that's how it was until August 20th, 2023. Thank you. On that day, the occupiers blocked the Telegram channel and came after all 7 of its administrators. These shots show the arrest of Yana Suvorova herself. The delicate girl is frightened and crying. Yana's friend Alevtina can't hold back her tears either, understanding Yana's fate.
No matter what I feel, or perhaps what I might be experiencing, what she's really feeling there is much scarier and more painful than my own concerns about how she's doing.
Alevtina and Yana have been friends since childhood. They did gymnastics together. Alia managed to leave the occupied territory and is now in the Czech Republic. She has the opportunity to correspond with her friend through the Russian prison mail system.
I'm really very worried because in one of her recent letters, she wrote in detail about what's happening in her cell. There are 3 girls who tried to take their own lives. And she says that she's very scared that she too might one day reach such a state. And that she won't be able to do anything about it.
Now Yana Suvorova's friends are doing everything they can to help free their friend. They are holding rallies in Kyiv and Prague. Iskander has already secured advocacy assistance for Yana from Canadian and Norwegian diplomats. Now he is planning to write a letter to Melania Trump. Alevtina, who is abroad, is reaching out to journalists to spread the story of her friend. It's gaining momentum, and both of them dream of hugging her again.
I hope that our side and the international community will work to get the young woman out.
Every birthday cake with a glowing candle, every shining star in the night sky, every pair of people who happen to share the same name. It's always just one wish, one heartfelt dream that I sincerely hope will come true very soon.
Mariana Bukan, Natalia Stelmak, Alexander Shayan, Andriy Romanok, Georgi Voronov, TSN 1+1.
A train that travels not on tracks but through children's imaginations. A large-scale choreographic circus show called Train to Wonders took place in Kyiv. The creators of the show explained that the main idea of their production is a call to believe in your dreams and never give up. At the center of the story are girls from a children's shelter who are searching for a stolen toy bunny. And they try not to lose faith in goodness and in their own dreams. At the end of the show, the singer Monatik appears on stage and performs his own song about believing in yourself. After the performance in Kyiv, the show will go on tour to cities across Ukraine.
This is a show for the whole family. It's definitely not just a children's show. We have really cool acts, an amazing cast, very vibrant costumes, and incredible graphics. The original soundtrack is completely ours. And on top of that, Dima Monatik joined us with his own soundtrack. It's not harmful to dream.
Inspiration and belief in miracles, belief in your dreams, in the fact that no matter what circumstances or difficulties there are, maybe some people tell you that you won't succeed. But after seeing this show, I think they'll feel a certain inner strength.
And now, let's talk about a new sport that's gaining popularity all over the world. It's a mix of squash, tennis, and table tennis. Many celebrities have already fallen in love with padel, from Cristiano Ronaldo to Antonio Banderas, and even members of the British royal family. In which cities of Ukraine can you already play padel, and what makes it so appealing? Our correspondent for TSN, Yevgeny Hladun, found out millions of fans.
A sport that millions of people around the world are passionate about, and one that Ukrainians are just beginning to master. Padel moved from Mexico to Spain and then spread even further. Now it is becoming popular among those who once dreamed of playing professional tennis, but for various reasons couldn't afford to pursue that passion. It has existed for only half a century, yet it is already being called the sport that is gaining the most fans and new players, leaving basketball, hockey, and even football behind. The reason is simple. It has absorbed all the most exciting elements of racket sports. If we're talking about accessibility, this pleasure isn't exactly cheap. But unlike tennis, the rules and technique are simpler, and the court is smaller.
In the summer, we were thinking about what we would do during the cold season.
For Diana and Nadia, this is their first paddle training session. In the summer, they mastered wakeboarding, and now they're looking for an interesting winter hobby.
So our choice came down to either tennis, squash, or padel. Tennis is still a bit more difficult, so we chose this kind of training session.
They work in the IT field, so they say that after sitting at work, they need some physical activity to unwind. It's
great cardio, and secondly, it's fun and really a good way to spend time with friends.
We liked it, and honestly, we started getting the hang of it almost right away.
We've already signed up for next Saturday. We'll
come again.
It's a game that hooks you from the very first training session, says a representative of the Padel Federation of Ukraine. One of the reasons, according to Olesha, is its accessibility for beginners with no sports experience.
The percentage of people who come back is actually very high, about 80% return again and again. You can get into the game pretty quickly, learn the basic serve and how to receive the ball without having to master detailed or very complicated technical aspects.
From tennis, it has taken the court layout and the basic rules. From squash, it has the ability to play off the wall. The racket is kind of like a ping-pong paddle, but a bit bigger.
This racket doesn't have a stringed surface like in tennis, nor does it have the rubber coverings like in table tennis that allow you to put spin on the ball and make different types of spin shots. Our racket is special in that it's mostly designed for flat shot.
Coach Yevhen explains the rules and then invites me to a training session.
Our paddle is more like a hammer. The technique, of course, is different from regular tennis.
David Beckham, Shakira, and Lionel Messi. They all already play paddle. Now I'll give it a try too. I hope my tennis experience will help me at least a little with this.
Step onto your foot, so we transfer our weight during the swing.
First, we practice straight shots.
Good job, well done, yes.
Then from the glass. And this element turned out to be not so simple. But despite unsuccessful attempts, I can confirm. You start to feel the enjoyment of the game from the very first shots. The word that best describes paddle is dynamics. It's everywhere here, in moving around the court, in the speed of the shots, and especially in the thinking. After all, you have to think constantly. Where should you run? And how should you hit correctly? Straight? Or maybe off the glass? Padel was invented in 1969. And today, it is one of the fastest growing sports in the world, especially in Spain, Italy, and Latin America. Already over 50 million people play it. Ukraine is trying not to fall behind this trend. You can play paddle in 12 regions of Ukraine, and courts are being built in 3 more. In
Ukraine, according to our estimates, there are about 3,000 to 3,500 people who play paddle, or at least have tried it once. And today, despite the fact that a lot of new courts and new clubs are appearing, this number does not match the number of courts. There are fewer people who would like to play and want to get involved, and new ones keep appearing, but for now there are still fewer of them than there are available courts in Ukraine.
Ukraine even already has a national paddle team, which has managed to play at the European Championship. We can't boast any international victories yet, but the Federation says this is just the beginning.
We've only been playing for 3 to 4 years when we competed at the European Championship. We actually looked quite decent overall, playing against countries that have been involved in this for 10 to 12 years.
Vyacheslav, captain of the Ukrainian national team. You can join this team based on the results of ranking competitions. This is one of those tournaments. There are no newcomers here anymore, but they made an exception for us and gave some advice that will be useful for anyone interested in a sport like paddle.
Just come, have some fun, play, and remember, the more you play, the better you'll get at it.
Yevgeny Hladun, Alexander Alifanov, TSN 1+1.
A Toothy favorite in Lithuania was seized from its owners, a crocodile that had been kept illegally for a quarter of a century. The authorities received an anonymous tip about citizens keeping an animal without the proper documents. Once on site, it turned out that the owners had not provided proper conditions for the 16-kilogram caiman crocodile. The nearly 1.5-meter-long animal was kept in a small terrarium where it could barely turn around. The crocodile has now been taken to a zoo center, where the animal is thoroughly enjoying the chance to swim in a bath. As for the unfortunate owners, they face a fine ranging from 500 to 2,500 euros. Why did people keep a crocodile at home? I'm waiting for your guesses in the comments below this video. Also, don't forget to like and hit the bell so you don't miss our live broadcasts. The next one is already tomorrow. Stay with TSN.